What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. In today's video, I want to go through 10 tips that will help you with the Age of Sorcery. A lot of things came with the Age of Sorcery to Conan Exiles that you may or may not understand if you're a new player or a returning player to the game. Additionally, I feel like these tips will help you even if you're a veteran to Conan Exiles and you've been playing along the entire time. If you find that one of these tips helped you out, take a moment to whack that like button and consider subscribing for future content just like this. And if you have a great tip that I don't cover in this video, go ahead and leave that in the comment section below for your fellow players. I also do community tip videos from time to time, and you might just see your tip in a future video. Now, there's plenty of people that don't think that sorcery is going to be their play style. They're not going to be casting spells and they don't want to be a wizard. However, I still recommend learning sorcery because there are a lot of other functions that come along with that aren't necessarily sorcery in my book. Some of those things would be illusions, the circle of power, the transmutatory stone, and so those things are additions to sorcery that you may use even if you don't want to be a wizard in the game. Illusions allow you to change the look of your armor and weapons to fit the look that you want with the utility that you need. The Circle of Power actually has a function where you can summon your dead body, so if you don't want to run across the map to retrieve your loot, you're able to summon that directly to the Circle of Power, and that'll save you a lot of time and heartache. Additionally, the Transmutatory Stone is a personal teleportation system that you can set up and have an infrastructure for going to specific locations that you visit on a regular basis, or for going from one base to another base. With the dawn of the Age of Sorcery came some changes to combat. In the past, character move speed was very slow when you moved to the left or the right. Now the strafe ability, or the ability to move to the left or the right, is almost the same speed as if you were jogging in a forward direction. Additionally, the move speed for backing up has been increased as well, and this allows you to move out of damage a lot better without actually having to initiate a roll or a special dodge attack. So I really recommend spending some time getting used to this new move speed. Go to some lower level enemies that it's not really going to hurt if they hit you, and spend some time just strafing out of the way of that damage. Try not to roll and try not to use any special dodge attacks like you would use with the daggers. This is really going to help you manage your stamina better and not take damage from the enemies that are attacking you. That way, when you go and face a formidable foe, you're going to have a lot better chance of avoiding that damage entirely and have the stamina to get right back into the fight when necessary. Now, my next tip is for those of you that actually want to cast spells, and that is that you need to hold on to both bones and leather. To cast sorcery, not only do you have to have corruption, but you also have to have a certain level pouch. It could be a leather pouch, a burlap pouch, or a cloth pouch, and all of those are crafted on the alchemist bench. But you are going to need bones and leather for most of those crafts. So you definitely want to hold on to those and never throw them out. You'll need a form of leather for 2 of the 3 pouches, and you'll need a form of the bones for the other 2 of the 3 pouches. My next tip is for those of you that want to engage in sorcery but aren't super excited about having a corrupted character. My recommendation is to become what I call a pocket sorcerer. And I've got a whole video guide on becoming a pocket sorcerer on my channel. I'll link it in the description below as well as in the top right hand corner of this video. But there are items in game that will give you virtually instant corruption to your character, and then there's a brew that you can use to remove that corruption right after you use your sorcery. So if that sounds like something that interests you, I highly recommend watching that video guide on becoming a pocket sorcerer. Now, this next tip has to do with followers. You can take more than one follower with you anytime you want to. The thing is, you have to have one follower that's rideable and one follower that is combat ready. Now, there are perks that allow you to have more combat followers follow you. However, you can always have 2 followers as long as one of them is combat related and the other one is a mode of transportation. The reason why you would take multiple followers all the time is the storage space in their inventory. Not every player wants to put a bunch of points into expertise so that they can carry whatever loot they run across. This allows you to have a lot more storage space without being over encumbered and not being able to engage in combat or defend yourself or even roll away or get away from damage. And if you've ever caught a live stream of mine, I always do this. I always have a horse following me as well as a combat thrall or pet so that I can essentially use that horse as a backpack. There's a lot of times where people are like, why are you not riding the horse? And it's simply because I'm not actually looking at it as a mode of transportation as much as I am looking at it as a way for me to store my loot until I get back to my base. This next tip is for those of you that are engaging in the Battle Pass content. You need to look at your challenges regularly and decide if any of them are stackable. Sometimes there are challenges that make sense to work on together. For example, if you have to harvest a bunch of stone and a bunch of trees, you could do that all in the same location and get both of those done in a much quicker time than if you focused on one and then went out and focused on the other. So checking these on a regular basis is important so you know how you can link these together. You might need to visit a specific location, and that location may also have resources that you need to harvest in order to complete another challenge. As a bonus tip to linking challenges, you can actually complete the entire Battle Pass in your solo game in admin mode, so if you really want to speed through it, there are ways for you to do that, and I've got a video on how to use admin mode to complete these challenges, and I'll link that in the description of this video. This next tip is for those of you that play on PC. You used to be able to check the stats of any building piece with the tab key on your keyboard. That function has gone away. Tab now opens your inventory, and so you need another way to check the decay timer or the stability of a building piece. And what you're going to want to do is build yourself a repair hammer. You can do this as early as you start building, and it's going to give you the same stats that you used to get when you press tab while looking at a building piece. The introduction of the Age of Sorcery, or Update 3.0, brought us a lot of changes to the attribute system, weapons, and armor. That leads me into the next tip, which is to try out a lot of different builds. Personally, I haven't found an attribute setup that I disliked so much that I wouldn't continue to use it. My suggestion is to try a lot of different character builds to find the one that suits your needs and suits your gameplay style. The armor and weapons are probably going to be the hardest part of this whole process. And the reason for that is that the game doesn't tell you what bonuses you're going to gain from the armor unless you actually craft it. So my suggestion is that you craft at least one piece unless you're willing to go outside of the game and search for information about that specific armor. Once you see the bonus from the single piece, it's very likely that the other pieces have similar bonuses. Now, this rule doesn't apply for everything. The Silent Legion, for example, will have different bonuses for each piece, but this is a very good way for you to get some kind of idea of what that armor is going to give you as far as a bonus. When it comes to resetting your attributes, there are multiple potions that you can use in order to reset your attributes, and a potion that you can use to reset your feats as well. There are also hidden attributes in Conan Exiles. I call them hidden, they're not really hidden, but in order to see the option to have those attributes, you do have to corrupt your character. So if you've never opened up your attribute screen while you have corruption, you may not know that those are even an option. My next tip has to do with the target lock system. Now, it was improved with Update 3.0, and it works a lot better now and a lot differently than it did before. Some of the things that you could do is sprint and target lock at the same time, or quickly and rapidly change your target lock. And this target lock works really well with one of my previous tips about the move speed of your character. Being able to target lock on and strafe right or left really helps you to avoid damage and stay on target all at the same time. And target locking while sprinting allows your sprint attack to be a little bit more forgiving. Now we've reached the final tip, and I'd remind you to whack that like button and consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already. My final tip has to do with the new building system and the ability to move placeables and stations. The nice thing about moving the placeables and stations is that if those placeables or stations have inventory in them, you don't have to remove the items from that inventory in order to move it. Now, you can't always use the construction hammer to break that station and rebuild it, and as long as that station had 100% health, you're going to get all those resources back. However, any items that were in the inventory, you are going to have to pick those up and put them in your personal inventory in order to move those with the station. The move feature just makes it much quicker and much easier to move those things around all together in one shot. Now, it does have a range that you are allowed to move it. However, you could pick it up, place it, and then pick it up and move it again, and do that multiple times to get it from the location that you have it to the location that you want, should your base be rather large. Now, on a side note, or a bonus tip to the moving placeables and stations, if you log back in and you are not seeing that station where you moved it to last, then you've encountered a bug where that station has returned to its original placement point. If you run across that, my recommendation is to break the station, go to the location where you want that station placed, and build it there again, and that will stop you from having that issue. And I want to know in the comment section below, what was your favorite tip from this video? I'd like to thank all my YouTube members for your continued support. Y'all are absolute legends. If you'd like to become a legend, there's a button that says join on this page. Click that for details. There's 2 videos on the screen. Click one of those to watch next, and I'll meet you over there.